There is not a truth existing which I fear or would wish unknown to the whole world. Words of Thomas Jefferson, arguably the most important of our founding fathers. Comes the retort, I will remember you said that, Sally Hemings. Cheap shot, maybe, a little bit of comic levity to start out. But the larger point that I'm making is when you go pursuing the truth and when you talk about pursuing the truth, you better be willing to take it the whole distance. And sometimes that's going to gore some of your own sacred cows. Arthur Schopenhauer once said that the doctor sees all the weakness of mankind, the lawyer, all the wickedness, the theologian, all the stupidity. Accurate across the board. But he's going on the premise that all of these things are functioning at their pinnacle, functioning as they should, functioning independently of a wrecked society and how that wrecked society may affect the function of each doctor, lawyer, and theologian. Much more recently, Chris Hedges observed that we now live in a nation where doctors destroy health, lawyers destroy justice, universities destroy knowledge, governments destroy freedom, the press destroys information, religion destroys morals, and our banks destroy the economy. How do we get from point A to point B? Well, the answer is found, as it normally is, through evil leftist materialistic ideologies that cloud the initial purpose for which each of those institutions had initially been set up to work for the benefit of mankind. Michael Foucault, one of my favorite people that I love to hate on the left. Don't even get me started on Foucault. Let's get through the quote. The first task of the doctor is political. The struggle against disease must begin with a war against bad government. Man will only be totally and definitively cured only if he is first liberated. Deconstructionist rattle. Reverend Bart's Capsule Review, unadulterated horseshit. But ideologies like this do corrupt each one of those establishments and do turn the ends against the center, the image against the reality. This is the image that we currently have of doctors. This little pic taken from stock pics from back during the COVID era. You remember when it was all doctor friendly and they were all heroes. They were all on the front lines. They were all protecting us. They were the single thing standing between us and the horrors that awaited if we disobeyed our intellectual superiors. The truth of the matter is that the medical establishment now are little more than plague doctors. Plague doctors operating for a pharmaceutical institution and, for lack of a better descriptive, what amounts to an evil priesthood. And what evil priesthood would be complete without an inquisition to make sure that all heretics and apostates are properly and immediately excoriated, marginalized, pushed to the fringes of society so they can get on with their greater work, they being the superiors, the betters of us lowlifes, us deplorables. We've seen the true evil of which medicine is capable back during the World War II era, the experiments, the human experiments that were conducted in the camps in Germany, the vivisections and other ghastly human experimentation that took place from Unit 731. I should remind you that both of those parties that committed those atrocities got full and complete pardons after the war from the American medical establishment in exchange for their research. So I'll thank you in advance to spare me the sanctimony of how it's all about keeping the Hippocratic Oath and first do no harm. How about first do no harm, but if someone else has already done the harm, well, we might as well benefit from that evil. You know, we thought we had it all figured out after the Nuremberg trials, but it started way before Nuremberg and it continues on to the present day. In fact, speaking of Nuremberg, it was America and Great Britain that set the course for eugenics. Our scientists, our doctors being on the forefront of eugenics research. Full disclosure, guys, as you well know, I'm a eugenics advocate. But if you're going to go looking for the truth, you've got to have your sacred cow gored. That means that if you're going to sing the praises of Margaret Sanger and the wonderful things that she's done for your team, you've got to own the greater what you determine is evil that she was initially a part of. The American medical establishment was all over the eugenics movement. The American medical establishment was single-handedly responsible for the atrocity of the syphilis experiments conducted on black men in Tuskegee, Alabama, under the auspices of the United States government. Oh, you think you're a well-informed conspiracy theorist because you know about Tuskegee? You know nothing of the foreign countries' experiments, the ones that the American medical establishment and the government that supported it with your taxpayer dollars has done, sterilizing people in foreign countries. Experiments, I should point out, that continued up to just the last 20 years. Perhaps the worst of the offenders has got to be the psychiatric community. Who could forget the horrors of electroconvulsive therapy? Keep in mind, these were advocated by medically accepted experts, your intellectual betters, the people that you aren't in any position to distrust, because who are you to go against the people who have paid their dues and have that piece of paper on the wall? You're not in any position to judge. You're not an expert. You're not a doctor, the same part of the medical establishment that brought us lobotomies. Some of the articles that I read when I was doing this show prep, man, will turn the stomach of even the most hardened cynic. Talking about turning your schizophrenic family member into the equivalent of a house pet with a simple needle through the base of the eye socket. These were the experts. These were the people that took the Hippocratic Oath first, do no harm. This was the priesthood, and if you opposed them, you were a heretic, and if you were one of their own that opposed them, you were an apostate, and there's a special kind of hatred reserved for them. But that priesthood creates its own high priests, its own celebrities. Chester Southam, under the auspices of Sloan Kettering, injected cancer cells into healthy prisoners, into healthy people that were incarcerated in mental institutions to see how the disease would progress. Look at any available eulogy for Chester Southam after his passing. They'll mention none of those things. They'll sing his praises from the rooftops and the rafters. Albert Kligman, look at his eulogy, right? They'll tell you all about the wonderful things that he's done in the field of dermatology. He was the guy that gave us Retin A. Every angsty teenager has him to thank for clearing up the acne problem. But what they don't mention is that he took the same subset, mental patients and prisoners, and subjected them to what were ghoulishly referred to as dermatological and cosmetic testing, some of which included dioxin administered directly to human skin. And his body count was pretty damn high. You can do your own homework for yourself. And of course, the most recent, the high priest of all high priests, he who is beyond reproach, he whose name will be spoken with reverence. We can't get to his eulogy soon enough for my taste. But when it does get around to the eulogy, imagine how he'll be presented through the lens of the mainstream legacy media. These are ghouls, but they are the priesthood, and they are protected. And to defy them, to even postulate that they could have possibly been wrong on some minor issue, is nothing less than heresy, for which you will be treated by their particular inquisition. So should we be surprised at all when a man I thank God for, RFK Jr., Health and Human Services finds systemic disregard for sanctity of life in the organ transplant system. Now, if you're anything like me, or if you followed me for any length of time, you know that I've been screaming this from the rooftops and the rafters forever. Don't you dare check that box as an organ donor. They will ignore the fact that you're still very much alive if they need that organ bad enough. And of course, the predictable accusations, tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorist. Oh, the medical establishment would never do such things, spewed from the pus-dripping maws of every grazer Pollyanna that ever saw fit to know nothing about the very institution that they defend. I continue on. It's all over now. All of the documents have been surfacing. When RFK showed up, he brought the receipts that the slipshod method with which organs have been harvested in the United States was nothing less than ghoulish. People were very much alive when the procurement process began. Some that actually showed not even the foggiest signs of brain death were beginning to be prepped. And there are more than several dozen instances where people came out where they were about to have their organs harvested. They were about to be literally euthanized to harvest those organs, and they came up kicking and screaming only by the grace of God. I'm not saying every doctor is evil. I am saying that the establishment that they serve is nothing less than Luciferian. But rather than even deny the allegations, instead they use their buddies at the mainstream media, the New York Times, July the 30th, not so very long ago when the scandal was beginning to break, an opinion piece. Donor organs are too rare. Read that with your own eyes. We need what? A new definition of death? If you can look at that and call it anything but evil, you and I have nothing further to discuss. Now, we've known about the horrors that went on in foreign countries. We've known about forced organ harvesting in China. That's well known and well documented. But as usual, like the Thomas Jefferson, Sally Hemings thing, we like to point at the one but ignore the other. We could go back to scripture. We like to point out the log, or the splinter rather, in our brother's eye rather than address the log poking out of our own heads. China, Falun Gong practitioners, Uyghur Muslims, political dissidents, put into prison, euthanized, their organs forcibly harvested. Well known, well documented all over the world. Protest movements all over the world, largely ignored by the mainstream media in this country, because if they look over there hard enough, they're eventually going to have to look homeward. This week, RFK left them no excuse but to put a big mirror in front of themselves and see what was going on right here at home. And let's not forget, the only democracy in the Middle East, our only ally, our most important ally, God's chosen people, the godless Luciferian secular state of Israel. Well known, well documented, just like their nuclear program, but just like their nuclear program and their little lab outside of Dimona, it's something that we can't talk about because tiny hat, because chosen. But the rest of the world knows it. The rest of the world won't ignore it. When I was going for show prep, this is one of the least graphic images that I could put up, showing a battlefield death, not in Gaza, lest I wade into that little ideological minefield. This was in Syria, boys and girls. Syria. Israelis harvested the organs of a battlefield body. There were much more graphic images, but I didn't want to give social media any excuse to pull this post. It's well known. Hey, can I interest you in a liver for a couple of shekels? They're neck deep in it. So now we're having to throw that mirror up and take a good look at ourselves. The American medical establishment and the organ trade here in the United States. Once it comes down to money, everything else becomes secondary. Stop assigning messianic intentions to the medical establishment. If you trust your doctor, great. If you trust your family member who practices medicine or is involved with the medical industry, hey, good on you. But the church that they serve, the religious order that they serve, is nothing less than Luciferian. And to deny that is nothing more than to deny reality. And they work very closely with the same globalist control elements. Remember, it was that medical establishment. You remember it was St. Fauci and the NIH. Those people that we can't criticize because they're working for public health, that gave us the novel coronavirus, that funded the lab in Wuhan, that unleashed this fake epidemic across the world and allowed the government to implement their control mechanisms. Let's not forget what they did to us. And let's not forget what your Grazer Pollyanna neighbors and family members recommended. They wanted your life taken from you. They wanted you imprisoned. They wanted you gulagged. They wanted your children taken away, because so slavish was their devotion to the expert class. So slavish was their devotion to the medical religion. No criticism could be leveled, and that trend continues to this day. And the most sinister fallback plan to avoid criticism, now that the facts are out, and now that anyone with a phone in their hand can know the truth for themselves with a 9-second Google search, they say it's more important than ever that we not ask those questions. Because God forbid, if people found out the truth, they might distrust those institutions. It might undermine those institutions. I'll refer you to Immanuel Kant. If the truth shall kill them, let them die. I will accord the medical establishment exactly as much concern for their life as they have for ours, to wit, less than none. They are a Luciferian element that must be undermined, and nothing less than our very lives are at stake. If you don't want to open it, you die on that altar. Don't ask me to join you in that human sacrifice. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and I cannot stress this enough, certainly not employers, because I'm about a week out from starting with a new one. That announcement I make every week for the sake of you docs happy Antifa maggots out there, because you've done it to me before. In any case, the aforementioned thoughts have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They are guaranteed to stretch open that unwilling maw to the point of jaw breaking if it becomes incumbent upon me to do so, and force feed you fistful after black latex glove fistful of truth cock until you choke to death on it or come to your senses, and either way, mission accomplished. Welcome back, boys and girls. It's time once again for the Sunday sermon. How you been? Oh, he's on one tonight, boys and girls. Yes, indeed. You could be right about that assessment. You would be right in making that observation. But in the meantime, in between time, we're going to bust into the roll call. Everybody in for the drum roll. Charging out of the starting gate, as we always come each and every Sunday, to our ever-present bumper music from the gut-stomping rock and roll band Red Desert, from the smoldering embers and crumbling ruins of the once great American city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The name of the band is Red Desert. The name of the track is Older No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older. Every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. Some weeks I do better than others. Let's see how it plays out for this week. I am making no promises, boys and girls. Let's go ahead and roll it on back. See which one of the usual suspects has shown up. Ryan taking the gold medal for earliest arrival. My goodness. Quite a few people over here in the chat getting here early, man. Nice to see. Got Brother Ryan showing up first. Brother Clem. Hey, Clem, we're having coffee this week. Go ahead and start setting an appointment. I'm just down the road from you right now, if you haven't noticed by the background. But yeah, you and I are having coffee this week, brother, and it's going to be very good to see you. The original sinner sister herself, the divine Miss Emmy. Good to see you. Glad you're digging the new job. Sorry that you're so tired. Sorry we didn't get a chance to have coffee when I was down in Houston last week. But, hey, man, we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. Girl, I ain't going nowhere, and neither are you. You know this. Speaking of people who have been around forever and are going to be around forever, OG Reverend's Ranger and Prophet of Doom, Mr. Dennis Weimer, on board. Good to see you, brother. And, of course, Roman. No medals for Roman. Right? Of course, no medals for Roman. Okay. How about you, brother? How about you? Hide current comment. Wait a minute. Oh, there we go. Apparently, I don't know. I think I've got a little problem with my production screen here. We'll iron it out. Brother Roman, opiumtales.com, which means that Carrie is around here somewhere. She's going to be showing up, and that's going to be cool. Looking forward to that. Let me see. Brother Bill Wade, good to hear from you, man. Good to hear from you. Glad you made it out. Evening, Ryan Clem. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. Nah, man. Hey, look, if you missed anyone, I probably missed them too, because I'm just scrolling through. Brother Joel Allen Jackson, the recent birthday boy. Good to see you. Speaking of birthday boys, has anybody seen Turtle in the comments? If Turtle doesn't make it in, everybody be sure to wish him a happy birthday, man. My brother in Christ, he's normally here, but I will definitely give him a pass if he doesn't show up today because he's out with his family doing birthday stuff, and that's totally okay. Certainly encourage that. Let me see who else is on board. There's Carrie. I knew she was going to make it. If Roman's running around, then Carrie's going to be hiding somewhere in the background. Knew you were going to be on board, sweetheart. Good to see you. Good to see you. Still scrolling. Still scrolling. Let me see which one of the other usual suspects. I know I saw a couple other people. George was on here. George was on board. There we go. Charlie on board, just be on the way to work, trying not to be anything like the folks he's discussing. Yeah, well, that's why I drew the differentiation. If the shoe fits, wear it. If it doesn't, throw the shoe out the window and realize that I'm not talking about you. And that goes across the board. That wasn't directed at you, by the way. That's just kind of a general rule. If it feels like I'm talking about you, that's on your conscience. I'm very directed about who I'm speaking about. Very directed. Jude, good evening, y'all. Listening from the road. What are you doing on the road, man? You better be careful. Turn that volume down, man. You get close to your destination. Like all us old guys do. We turn the volume down because it helps us find our direction. Oh, man. Let's see who else is on board. Still scrolling. There's Brother George. I knew I'd seen him running on in, man. Good to see you, brother. Glad you made it out for another week. Brother Roger, once again, man, my brother in Christ, my brother in arms, my brother from the Denver Harbor days. My goodness, man. What a time of life that was, man. I think I was the only white guy in Denver Harbor that wasn't wearing a badge at that hour. Oh, my goodness. G-Dub, how you been, brother? Been a minute since you dropped in. I was starting to miss you. I catch your Twitter comments every now and then, man. And G-Dub, look, just so you know, I'm always thankful for the support. You might have ducked out when I started dogging on Israel, but there it is, man. I got to call it like I see it. And, it's not a matter of, it's a theological discussion for another day. Bottom line is, I'm glad you made it out, man. Thank you for being here. And, of course, where would we be without the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Josh Vargas, murderabilia collector extraordinaire and documentary filmmaker. Bro, I got to tell you, people like to slag on a lot of my friends because they don't know. They don't realize the importance of the work that some of these people have done, man. Vargas actually was able to reopen cold cases just because of incidental work that he was doing, working on a documentary film. That's the kind of stuff that he's made of. And he also gave me an Archie Bunker for President shirt that was previously owned by Elmer Wayne Henley. Still one of the coolest gifts that has ever been given me, and I still have it in my wardrobe closet. About to run out the bumper music. Let me go ahead and fade that on out. We're getting all the way to the end. Quite a long roll call there, man. How about that? Go ahead and cue up the next song for the outro, so we're ready for that when the time comes. Let me see. We got Vargas on board. Let me see if I missed anybody. If Zelensky shot what? Oh yeah, the Putin thing. Yeah, I was following that earlier. GW. If Zelensky shows up, he might get a Polish plane ride on the way home. Brother, I got to tell you, man. I don't envy that guy right now. In the good spirit of Christian grace and forgiveness, I'm trying not to hold a visceral hatred for that corrupt little sawed-off U-crop cokehead transvestite son of a bitch. God bless him. I would not want to be Zelensky right now. It's funny watching the people with the U-crop flags in their profiles try to bend over backwards to justify everything, how all the money that we're sending to Ukraine is protecting democracy. And when you think about the people that are making those assertions, that is exactly the kind of democracy that they're protecting. What kind of democracy do I mean? I mean a democracy where only one party is in control. I mean a democracy where they can suspend elections whenever it might be inconvenient for them, i.e. they know they're about to get run out on a rail and booted out on their ass, where they take control, where they outlaw all opposition parties, where they take control of all the media in the country, and then they start raiding churches and arresting priests because priests, wait for it, don't support war. That's the kind of democracy that they're talking about saving. So if you got a U-crop flag in your bio, man, you and I got nothing further to discuss. I wish you the best of luck in all future endeavors. God bless you, man. But I wouldn't want to be Zelensky right now. I definitely wouldn't want to be Zelensky right now because his own people want him run out on a rail. No matter what the deep state is telling you, no matter what the propaganda ministry is telling you, you talk to people on the ground over there, you actually get into some news sources that are talking to people on the ground over there. No matter what the legacy media is telling you, they want his head, bro. They want his head. And right now, honestly, if it wasn't for the Western push, right, that they're putting on over there, Putin would already walked in the front door to the cheers and applause of the Ukrainian people at this point. It has been a bloodbath. And I didn't mean to go down this, but we're here, so I'm going to run it out because that's what I do. The average age of the frontline soldier in Ukraine, on the Ukrainian side right now, take a guess. Guys, you remember a little dance club hit in the 80s called 19, right? That was based on a Vietnam War documentary. Average in World War II, the average age of the combat soldier was 26. In Vietnam, it was 19. No, 19. Right, okay. So you have an idea. In the Vietnam War, those statistics were true, by the way. Average age of the frontline soldier in Vietnam was 20. In World War II was 26. Average age of the frontline soldier in Vietnam was 19. Do you know what the average age of the frontline soldier in Ukraine is right now? 43 and change. Do you know what that means? That means that they have eradicated an entire generation and a half of young Ukrainian men. That means that Ukrainian blood will never recover from this. Do you understand? It has been a bloodbath. It has been a meat grinder. It has been a war of attrition that all could have been easily avoided. There was a peace agreement on the table 2 weeks into the conflict. And the West, the UK and the United States told him, don't take it. We will continue throwing money at this. Unbelievable, man. Whatever happens to Zelensky is between him and God. I cannot wait for the Ukrainian people to arrange the meeting. And that is all that I'm going to say about that. So God bless you, Mr. Zelensky. May God welcome your forsaken, secular transvestite playing the piano with your pee-pee little godless soul. May he welcome you home. And may he have mercy on you for your sins and everyone who is associated with you. Terrible thing over there. I might be a little emotionally involved with this one. What's the old quote from Rocky, right? Where they talk, I ain't emotionally involved, dog. I ain't emotionally involved. My buddy Steve used to pull that out. Yo, dog, I ain't emotionally involved. I'm not emotionally. No, I'm definitely emotionally involved when it comes to Ukraine. Definitely. Anyway, man. Did it get to 46 yet? Yeah, there you go. Oh, has it bumped up to 45? Because the last I looked at it, it was like 43 and change. It was like 43.7 years was the last that I looked at it. So if we want to round up, we can say 44, but I'm going to lowball it. Yeah, man. Yeah, bro. It's that bad. It's that bad. And yet, our legacy media continues to tell us that that's a winnable war for Ukraine. If we just put more money and weapons behind it, man, boy, Zelensky's going to drive them all the way back and push them out of Crimea. And the people with the Ukraine flags are going, because the Globox told me to. Listen to the experts, spelled capital ECK-SPURTS, as in spurts of semen, because that's what you guys are swallowing. Okay. That might have been the cold brew talking, maybe, just maybe. I tell you what, let's go ahead and get another little sip of liquid enthusiasm here, because that's clearly just what I need. Then we'll get the sponsor shout outs out of the way, and then we'll jump into the meat of this thing, shall we? Yep. Yeah. Well done, Dennis. Well done. I was waiting for Clem to pop up with it, actually. Breathe, Bart, breathe. Keep calm and breathe, Bart, breathe. Relax your shoulders. I'm like, okay. All right. Let's get it back under wraps. Let's see if we can refocus. Okay, cool. Sponsor shout outs. First and foremost, every time, man, one of my oldest and dearest friends, Roman Riva at opiumtales.com. And guys, you need to check him out over at Substack. That is where he is doing his testosterone driven commentary now. He has pulled it off of Twitter. and he has a full Substack going right now. I have a Substack that I haven't addressed in a very, very long time, and that is a situation that I need to rectify. But he is live and kicking over at Substack, so you can check that out. Roman, leave the actual name of the Substack over there in the comments for these fine people, because I didn't get that in your text message. But he's also got books available on Amazon. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people over at opiumtales.com. Roman's one of the most creative people I've ever met in my life, man. Musically, artistically, he's doing beautiful watercolor work of beautiful naked women and rolling with the testosterone-driven commentary on Planet Bart. That is a trifecta. You want to be a part of it. Take care of the people that are taking care of me and taking care of the program. Also, check him out on Amazon. He's pulled from Dork to Pimp Daddy. That one's been pulled, but he's got Roman Freely under the name Roman Riva on Amazon. He's got Roman Freely, which is a collection of his watercolor work, and he's doing short fiction. And as I just mentioned, he's got a live Substack up and running. Opium Tales on Substack. Thank you very much. Let me go ahead and post that up there if I can get this damn thing to work. There it is. Opium Tales on Substack. So go over and check him out. Take care of the people that are taking care of the program. And, of course, where would I be without my Viking brothers, Casey and Dusty Tellison? Nordic Smoke Barbecue. Check them out. They are in the Spokane area. They are the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. Period, bar none. End of statement. Sit down, shut up. You're wrong, Sparky. There is no other except no substitutes. They've got the long ship, that is their smoker trailer, out sailing the asphalt seas just in time for the season while the hot weather is still hot up there. And as Ryan will tell you, not quite as hot as it is down in Texas. Ryan is currently in the fabled homeland up in the Northwest on a crane gig. Let me see. Passport Bros. What one is that? Passport Bros will ameliorate the situation. Yeah, right. Yep, absolutely. That, and they are killing off the generation that remembers freedom. You are absolutely right. All the young men are dead. Very sad. Some of the most beautiful people on the planet. Yes, indeed. Correct on all fronts. In any case, Nordic Smoke Barbecue. Check them out on social media. Dusty is the big pit master over there. He's the guy running the operations. And, of course, Casey will drop in from time to time to help out with the operations. Casey has moved on and he has passed the bar and become a practicing attorney. I have him on retainer because sooner or later I'm going to get in some more trouble. If you're in the Spokane area, you should look him up and consider putting him on retainer for your own situation, no matter what that situation may be. Also, he's got a book on Amazon. That book is Freaks of a Feather, published by Latop Press out of Spokane, Washington. It is an incredible piece of writing. It is a combat memoir that started off as a suicide note. That should be all, literally, in a perfect world, that should be all I should need to tell you. It's a combat memoir that began as a suicide note. In a perfect world, people would hear that and that alone and be like, I have got to check this out. And you do. You got to check that out. Freaks of a Feather. Take care of the folks that are taking care of me and that are taking care of the show. So I very much appreciate that. What is that? Hero shit stops near 40. Nah, man, hero shit doesn't stop near 40. The physical capability to pull off hero shit stops around 40, generally speaking. But yeah, it's a bad scene over there. It's a bad scene all the way around. So let's jump in immediately to the main bullet point, the one that I spent the entire opener ranting and raving about. There is a certain ghoulishness, right? And let's start here. There's a certain intellectual arrogance that comes with, that just comes with having an elevated intellect. Okay, I'm not immune to it myself. This isn't me puffing my own pecker, but I am the smartest guy. I think a lot of you will agree that I am the smartest guy in 6 to 7 out of every 10 rooms that you may find me in. Across the board, I'm the smartest guy 6 to 7 times out of 10. This isn't me puffing my own pecker. This is me just acknowledging reality. And I'm not immune to that intellectual arrogance myself. The thing is, my intellectual arrogance is not backed up by cultural reinforcement. I don't have a pretty piece of paper on the wall. I don't have accolades and bona fides from people in a specific field that is sacrosanct and cannot be spoken ill of. I haven't passed the bar. I haven't graduated med school, right? to any and all observers, I am just a tattooed scrub, fat, toothless crane operator with some opinions. And I'm totally okay with that. I really am. I'm totally okay with that. Okay. Um, because it lets me avoid conversations with people who, in spite of their particular bona fides, aren't fit to utter so much as a grunt in my presence. They like to think very highly of their own intellect. They like to think very highly of their own acumen, that they know a lot of things about a lot of things, or everything about a particular thing or three. Useless bums. And the initial knee-jerk reaction is, I want to clown these people. This doesn't work for me. Hasn't worked for me for a long time. The best bet for me is to disengage. Having said that, I can give these people a pass. They have the intellectual arrogance, and it is reinforced with all of those bona fides, with all of the accolades, with all of the, you know, Mr. Smith. That's Dr. Smith, sir. F you, Dr. Smith. You know, it's, I took the time and I put in the work and I earned this damn thing. Leaving to the side the fact of the abject lowering of standards across the board in the medical field for any number of reasons, leaving aside the DEI admissions policies, right, that have lowered the bar even further, that people are graduating and going into practice who have absolutely no business in the field of human health. You have heard me say before, disparagingly and only half kidding, that as a general rule, doctors are overpaid pipe fitters that work in flesh. Okay? I trust the acumen of a plumber as much as I trust the acumen of a doctor. They're essentially working, plumbers and electricians, HVAC guys, people that work across a multitude of systems, as far as I'm concerned, carry just as much acumen as your average physician. The physician has to work in flesh, right? The physician has to work on a living. And right now, there are the Ryan Thauberns of the world are screaming, he's completely lost his mind. This is freaking blasphemy. Doctors are, the fact that your initial reaction, rather than process what I said and decide whether or not you agree with that statement on its merits, or assess why I would have made a statement like that, is, they're doctors, experts. And there you have it. There's the problem. They have evolved into a priesthood. You cannot question them, even when their orthodoxy is pushing for things that are completely in polarity with accepted biological realities. Even when their scripture or the words of the high priest is telling you things that are observably not true. And when you ask them for verification or documentation or authentication, rather than bring any of those things, because they can't, because those things aren't true, they appeal to the masses, appeal to authority. How many times have you had a conversation, particularly over the course of the last 5 years, where you go, hey, man, I'm looking at this and this is quite obviously shit, right? Oh, so I guess you're a doctor? I guess I guess your internet search beats that guy's 8 years of medical school. There's an important difference there. My internet search wasn't funded by a pharmaceutical company. as if by virtue of being a part of this priesthood that they don't have underlying agendas, that they cannot be influenced by money, that they cannot be influenced by the thought of losing status. Because once the last thing someone wants to be, they certainly don't want to be a heretic, but they damn sure don't want to be an apostate. I can tell you from personal experience, speaking to physicians that were personal friends and 2 times that many acquaintances that were in the medical field that did the hush tone thing. Bro, look, you're right. Okay, what you were saying is correct. What you were saying is correct, and if it's not absolutely correct, it's definitely worth looking into. Nobody's gonna look into it, man. You're right. Well, then why won't you say that? Really? I spent all that time and all that money going through medical school. If I utter so much as a peep in questioning that, everything's gone. My entire career is going to be gone. I will be blackballed out of an industry. I spent over a decade getting to this point. That means if the priest says A plus B equals C, then A plus B equals C. If the priest says 2 plus 2 equals 5, then I say 2 plus 2 equals 5. Part of me wants to call him out for cowardice. But do I really? Do I really? Imagine when the stakes are that high. And I used to be very quick to judge those guys. During the height of the crisis, I was super quick to judge those guys. Freaking cowards. But on reflection, judgment is a little less harsh because they did literally stand to lose everything. So rather than take the negative and pound the hell out of them for not stepping up, you look at them and go, extend some of that good Christian grace and forgiveness. I get it, bro. I get it. I forgive you. But the flip side of that is the people that did have the balls and the spine, you praise their names from the rooftops and the rafters. People like Peter McCullough, people like Robert Malone, people like Berenson, who's not even a physician, but he lost his career as a journalist damn near, got blackballed out of a whole lot of things, of which he's just now beginning to recover. He still has a lawsuit in place against the Biden administration for the things that they did to destroy him, for having the audacity to step out against that narrative. I don't think I've really softened, right? I still lose a lot of respect. I still lose a lot of respect for these people for not stepping up. But I cannot, in good conscience, be too adamant in my judgment because they've literally put everything into this. And thankfully, this time around, the stakes weren't life or death. If they would have maintained the same silence in the face of, it's a Reverend Bart drinking game, you ready to take a shot? If they would have maintained the same silence in the face of, go on, finish the sentence. In the face of, that's right, boys and girls, airborne filovirus, you move on to the next round. That would be deserving of pure and abject hatred. So I'm trying to extend grace and mercy and forgiveness towards the people that didn't speak up. There is no such grace and mercy for the people that knew and actively lied. The people and the establishment that pushed the false narratives. They get no mercy. They get no forgiveness. They are, for lack of a better descriptive, Luciferian by any reasonable definition. That was COVID. We're talking about the organ trade. If you guys have been, and this has been in my wheelhouse, there's a special level of ire that I've held the medical establishment in for some time, and the organ trade. These people are ghouls. They are absolutely ghoulish when it comes to this stuff. It's a pure financial incentive. While we're here for the trans community and for the people that have family members or friends in the trans community, particularly the push for trans youth, this is about money. This is not about affirming the mental illness of your child or family member. It isn't about that. It isn't about some heartfelt need to do what is best for the child. It isn't about, do you want a live son or a dead daughter? Because they know there is zero empirical evidence to back that up. The only long-term study that's been done actually showed quite the opposite. They know that they're lying. But if they can transition a child, okay, all right. Well, find me a better one. Can we just say evil then? Evil? Would that work for you? Shitty? Morally reprehensible. How about that? Can we go with morally reprehensible? Morally reprehensible, ideologically unconscionable, and shitty. How about that? Will that work? May I continue? Okay. Go ahead, Joel. Go ahead, Joel. I'm glad you made it out, bro. Catch the replay if you can. They know that if they can transition that child before they will eventually change their mind. And they know the numbers on that as well. That is why the push to get them while they're still kids. That is why the push to transition them, because they know if left to their own devices, even in the face of therapy, they're going to grow out of it. They're going to do what used to happen. They're going to grow into semi-functional gays and lesbians. Or maybe, just maybe, into semi-functional heterosexual people that are curious. Right? All of it. But if they get them transitioned and they get them into the surgical system, not only do they get the payoff, either from the parents or from the insurance companies, or in some states, including the one I live in, from the government, they get the big payoff for the transition. They get the big payoff for the puberty blockers and the transitioning hormones and the cross-sex hormones that they move into, and they are guaranteed a patient for life. Because vaginoplasty creates a nice little festering petri dish of a biome for diseases. They're going to be taking all kinds of medication to control that biome for the rest of their natural life. Phalloplasty, they're going to have more surgeries to get the skin taken off the arm or the leg, to have this fake penis grafted on. It's going to consistently have skin conditions, be fighting infections because it's not natural. And every single one of them are going to be on SSRIs and psych meds for the rest of their life. If they can transition them, they get one big payoff and a guaranteed patient. And you do that times 1,000 or 10,000. This isn't about really believing that little Bobby thinks he's little Barbara and wanting to make it. This isn't about that. This isn't about on a pure moral level, we are concerned about the well-being of every child, and these children know what they are. It is not about that. Senator, don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining. The whole world is in Outlaw Josie Wales, man. All of life is in Outlaw Josie Wales. Point being, they know. And the organ trade has got to be one of the most sinister manifestations of this entire phenomenon that I have ever seen in my life. Reprehensible, beneath contempt, beyond derision, disgusting, and flat out evil. And all right, Ryan, good check. I'm not going to assign that one. I'm not going to assign that one to scratch, right? But let's not act like it's not playing into let's not act like it's not playing into those ends. Profaning the sacred, corrupting the pure, making lies into truth, selling darkness for light and light for darkness. It is 100%. JT! Hey, man! Dude, I haven't had a chance to look since you resent that video. That is JT, guys. That is John Tim. Last of the Grady Park hooligans, man. It was really good to get a little bit of FaceTime with you on my way out of town the other day, brother. We used to beat the hell out of each other with sticks for fun, man. Some of that Filipino martial arts stuff. Oh, while I'm popping that little mood lifter, I want to tell you guys something. Last week, I don't want to get off on this, but it does kind of relate to the medical establishment. Last week, when I talked to you guys about kratom and about 7-hydroxymetragenine, 7 ohms, and the irresponsible marketing, all the other stuff, it is coming down the pike sooner than later. If you plan on ordering any 7-hydroxymetragenine, any 7 ohm stuff, you need to do it most Ricky Tick. Most Ricky Tick. That needs to happen as much as you can, because they're going to pull it. Thankfully, I was already like well stocked. Like I looked at that the same way I looked at ammo when Obama got elected. It's just like I look at my stash and I'm like, all right, cool, I'm good. But yeah, they're gonna pull it. They're gonna pull it. They're definitely gonna pull it. The propaganda articles are already starting to hit where they're trying to equate it, and I think they are probably going to try to pull. They are probably going to try to pull this off the market as well, because in the propaganda articles that I have seen, they are using 7 ohm and kratom interchangeably in their wording and all that stuff. So something big is going to be coming. The only thing that I have any hope for is that with RFK Jr. at the HHS, that it will that it'll alleviate some of it, or at least that whatever restrictions do come down the pike will be more reasonable. So there's that. In any case, human organs. Do a little homework on how much a liver is worth on the transplant market, a heart, a set of corneas, any organ, any body part that is transplantable. Take a look at how much that is worth on the open market. There's a reason why tourists wind up in a bathtub full of ice missing a kidney, right? There are reasons why. And again, tinfoil hat me all you want. It's all documented and out in the open now. So if you're going to come at me with that, oh, well, you're just rehashing, making a whole lot out of nothing, that means that you haven't got the balls, the spine, or the time to pick this up and do a 9-second search on Google. Therefore, you and I have nothing further to discuss. The organ trade is worth billions. It's been this way for a long, long time. I don't know. I could not tell you whether it was the Chinese that got the idea first or the Israelis, right? Right. Thank you, Ryan. Or the Israelis that got the idea first. But I know that Israel were the first to get called on it. Israel was the first to get called on it because the rest of the Arab world and the Western world, major parts of which are oddly anti-Israel. My favorite hashtag, for no reason at all. And then one day, for no reason at all, people just started hating these people. One day, for no reason at all, they started putting people in ovens. One day, for no reason at all, they decided, whatever. Getting off topic. They were harvesting organs, harvesting organs from battlefield dead. Some allegations were made, though they couldn't be documented, was that they would even harvest organs from their own, figuring once you're dead, it doesn't matter. No documentation for that, but there's plenty of documentation that battlefield dead from the other side were harvested for their organs. Imagine being engaged on the battlefield, and listen, this isn't from the river to the sea coming from me. I cry not 2 tears in a bucket for Gaza. Do not care about the Palestinians. Do not care. Not that. What a horrible okay, I'll be that bad person. I don't care. You were talking about people who are, without exception, if they're Palestinian Christians, I would love to see them get pulled the hell out of there. I'd love to see them get pulled the hell out of there. You understand? Love to. But as for the rest of them, as for the bulk of them, don't care. Every last man, woman, and child, don't care. Go in and scorch it right off the face of the earth, don't care. That isn't me being pro-Israel. That's me being completely detached from an ideology and a group of people that want me dead. These from the river to the sea ass clowns on university campuses that have been brainwashed into anti-Semitism, okay? That don't even know the reason they hate these people, but for the fact that they're connected to the West and that we're essentially their client state. Different day for a different argument, G-Dub. I see you out there going, dude, really? Yeah, I get it. But G-Dub, you'll be happy to hear that I couldn't care less. I couldn't possibly care less about Gaza. Scorch the earth. Run them all out. I am merely stating for the record what we're going into and how it affects us here in the United States and how it affects it on the global market. They harvested organs from battlefield dead. This is documented. They denied it, which is also documented. Somebody got the documentation, brought the receipts, and they finally had to cop to it. This was also documented. Same thing they did with the nuclear program. And to this day, they remain the hub of the international organ trade. That doesn't mean that they're the top dog and they're the ones that are harvesting all the organs. That means that the organ trade that goes on all ships through and is transitioned by and arranged in the state of Israel. China. You want to look at somebody we can all agree that we hate, G-Dub, just to get you back on the same page? Pure evil. Right. Ooh, goodness, wait a minute. Sorry, man, my production screen kicking back up at me for a second. Misbehaving. I don't like that. Don't do that to me. About documents in Israel. Right. Don't play with me, Ryan. I won't get concerned until Iran offers China free oil to kick Israel's ass. Won't happen. Won't happen. You want to know what's going to happen with Iran right now? Nothing. Nothing. Not with Mango Mussolini in the White House. Not going to happen. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. And I'm getting sidetracked here. Didn't mean to get pulled off this, but let me just put this to bed really quickly. He managed to thread the needle on that. He destroyed the nuclear facilities. He destroyed the nuclear program. Even the deep state, which admittedly hates sweet potato Hitler, has decided that, yes, it was a successful bombing raid. Do you want to know what they're going to do? Nothing. Same thing that they did after he killed Soleimani. All the pomp and circumstance about they're going to hit back, American lives are going to be lost, we're going to be drawn into a long quagmire of a war. I even bought into it, guys. I had to publicly apologize because I even bought into it. They didn't. They shut right up. I'm reminded of Muammar Gaddafi. G-Dub, do you remember Reagan? Remember Reagan when the terror bombing hit that discotheque in Germany? Some American soldiers got killed. Reagan got on the phone. It's like, well, Bill Casey, you've got to find out who's responsible for this. Bill Casey made some phone calls. He got back to Reagan and he said, it's these people who are tied to these people who are tied to these other people who are tied to Libya. Gaddafi was the number one state sponsor of terror at the time. 72 hours later, we bombed the piss out of Libya unrepentantly. Hit the French embassy accidentally because they refused to let us fly over their airspace. Killed Gaddafi's kid in his crib. That bombing raid did. Look it up. Killed Gaddafi's child in his crib. Reagan apologized to no one. You know what Gaddafi did? He promptly shut his ass up for the next 30 plus years. That's what's going to happen with Iran right now. China's not in any position. In any case, let's get back to China and talk to them about the organ trade, because that is one thing that they are responsible for, and that's the primary focus of today's program is going to be that organ trade. They are an international hub. They are what the globalists would have us all be if they had their druthers. They are what some elements here in the United States would have if they had their druthers, that condemned prisoners would have their organs harvested. That's the way that China runs it. Condemned prisoners have their organs harvested. Oh, where's the incentive there? With an authoritarian government, if you're a political dissident, if you're an enemy of the state, the impetus is to have broader and broader reasons for the state to execute you so they can harvest your organs. They did it to the Falun Gong. They've already done it to the Falun Gong. They're doing it currently to the Uyghur Muslims. Do I care about the Falun Gong? No. Do I shed 2 tears for the Uyghur Muslims? Do I have any ideological affinity with the Uyghur Muslims? Not at all. Don't care. Them or their pedophile prophet. Don't care. But we have to acknowledge what the hell is going on there and the ghoulishness of that. Not because I have an affinity for the people that it's happening to, but because I have a soul, because my humanity reacts viscerally to the thought that any human being could be under the thumb of a totalitarian, authoritarian regime and have their organs taken from their body without consent and sold for financial profit on an open market. What does China and Israel have to do with America, Bart? It's real simple. This is exactly the way that the medical establishment here has been conducting things, regardless of what their protocols are. Their protocols and the way they've been conducting it, as far as harvesting organs, is unconscionable. It's pure evil. Why? Because there's money at stake. But they're doctors. They have the Hippocratic Oath. Right? Same doctors that have no qualms whatsoever about putting an ice pick through a baby's head as it's crowning. Same doctors that have no qualms whatsoever in month 7 of a pregnancy doing a D&C, having to go in with forceps and crush that baby's skull when it's kicking and screaming and fighting the effort and pulling the limbs off of that baby and sucking it out of the womb because mommy couldn't be inconvenienced. Tell me again about their concern. Same doctors that think it's affirmative health care, gender affirming health care, when little Bobby, who's 12 years old, who I can't give one of my cigarettes or take him to get a tattoo, decides that he's little Barber and wants to have his cock cut off. This doctor will castrate this man, physically castrate this young man, and call it health care. A beautiful young woman decides that Tumblr's got her spun up, and that this social contagion, let's call it what it is, and it's a hill that I'll die on, doesn't mean I hate anyone. It's just a simple statement of fact. So this same doctor that'll do a double mastectomy on a perfectly healthy, pubescent young woman, put her on hormones that are going to make her sterile for the rest of her life. Don't tell me about their concern for human life. Don't tell me. Ghouls. Freaking ghouls. Money. Every doctor, Bart? No, not every doctor. In the same way that when the Catholic Church had its problem with every priest wanting to play Little Lord Fauntleroy. Every priest? No, not every priest. But the church that you work for has a problem. And if you refuse to fix it, somebody else is going to come from the outside and fix the damn thing. Same thing with the doctors. Same thing with the medical establishment. Can we get back to organ trade, Bart? Yeah, let's definitely do that. Sorry about that. Hey, no problem. It happens. Okay. Harvesting organs. Simple in doing my show prep. You ready for this? Okay. Plenty of, and I realize that the plural of anecdote is not data. Organ procurement unethical US. First thing that comes up is hhs.gov. Health and Human Services finds systemic disregard for sanctity of life in organ transplant system, right? And of course, one of the network affiliates, RFK Jr., pushes for organ transplant system reform after federal investigation. So they went in and they audited everything for the first time in a long time. Why? Because, well, money. Power and money corrupt. Money and power take care of each other. Money takes care of money. Power takes care of power. Very simple. Politicians don't want to look at it. No harm, no foul. Everybody's making money. We have the protocols in place that say that we're doing it a certain way. New York Times from back in February, organ transplant system in chaos as waiting lists are ignored. This is the same New York Times, by the way. Absolute same New York Times. Let me run it back. Absolute same New York Times that gave us this. Donor organs, and this is in the middle of the things coming out. Donor organs are too rare. We need a new definition of death. Doesn't strike you as a bit ghoulish? Doesn't strike you as a bit evil? Doesn't strike you as a little bit too much money over human life? And I'm not trying to virtue signal here, people. I'm not a good person. I'm not a good person when it comes to this. I am a practicing Christian who still is an ideological advocate for eugenics. I think that eugenics is an underrated science, and I think that we do need to concentrate on taking care of things on a genetic level. I'm not a good person. I'm not a man of virtue when it comes to this as society understands it. I'm going to tell you how I feel about stuff. But when I look at something like that, man, that's straight up ghoul. Straight up ghoul. Medical group accused of seeking to collect organs from patient who was still alive. That's from the Wall Street Journal. Worst nightmare. Dead Kentucky organ donor came back to life while doctors prepared to remove his heart. Story after story after story. And then you get into the actual audit that they did, and they found thousands of these. Thousands. Forced organ harvesting, a decades-long injustice in need of international accountability and action. Who did that article talk about? Israel and China. Who did they not talk about? The United States. The increasingly permissive and unethical standard for organ harvesting. They keep loosening the definition of brain death. And every time they loosen that definition, it happens when they are having a shortage of organs for donation. For whatever reason, that month, China didn't execute enough people for the number of livers they need for a transplant. The medical establishment here in the United States lowers its standard for brain death. Go look for yourself. NPR saying the quiet part out loud. Doctors try a controversial technique to reduce the transplant organ shortage. We're doing NRP recovery. It replenishes the oxygen deprivations the organs incur during the dying process. If we recover the organ and put it on ice in an oxygen-deprived state, it's not as healthy. In this way, basically, they're talking about clamping it off while the patient is still alive, still very much alive. Stop assigning messianic qualities to the medical establishment. These aren't isolated incidents with isolated doctors. This is protocol. This is protocol and will continue to be protocol. Unless and until, thank God for a man like RFK Jr. getting in and cleaning house. He's the guy that ordered the audit. He's the guy that found all the abuses. He's the guy that finally had the balls in the spine to call him out. Here's one that he found. You ready for this? Proposal to let prisoners in Massachusetts donate organs in exchange for having time shaved off their sentence. You want to get out of jail early? Give us a kidney. Nothing about that strikes you as just a little creepy? There is actually a business now, transplant tourism, where if you are in need of a transplant and you can't find one here in the United States, you can travel to a foreign country where their standards are even looser and you're more likely to find a donor. You may think to yourself, well, they're dead, they don't need it, which is all fine and good until you consider that some of these countries are deliberately killing people to obtain these organs. Once money becomes a motivator, all bets are literally off. It's a fairly terrifying prospect. And it's something that we haven't taken the time to look at. Now that it's out in the open, I'm hoping that the necessary reforms will be made. But I'm not counting on it. Be alert. You don't have to feel the way that I do about it. You don't even have to agree with my analysis of the situation. You may get in. You may get in and decide that you come to a different conclusion. That's fine. But in light of everything that's gone before, and in light of the preponderance of evidence that things are amiss, please, on my word, take these things into account and don't check that box when you renew your driver's license. Make sure that everyone around you is aware of it. Some people are not going to be persuaded. Some people are, in the same way that some Catholics wouldn't believe that, Father O'Brien was diddling little boys. That's fine. Some people are so inured to the system. Some people are so dependent on that higher power. Some people are incapable of critical thought and processing their own health decisions that they will defer to an expert simply by virtue of the fact that he's an expert. That's fine. You can't reach him, you can't reach him. But for you, more and more people are finding out. And what they are finding is that the more that these things become public, as I said in the opener, that people are refusing to check the organ donor box. This should tell you everything you need to know about their ghoulishness. The fact that once they are called on what they're doing, once people know what they're doing, people don't want to be part of it. And rather than rethink what they're doing and the protocols about what they're doing and change things up, they lash out at the very people who called out the problem with the protocols to begin with. That should tell you everything. That should tell you everything that you need to know about these people. All right, Ryan. God bless. My twin brother, apparently. I'm gonna have to check and see what that to check and see what that post is. In fact, careful there, Ryan. Let me know what's going on with that. There we go. Let me see what's up here. Okay, clearly that wasn't it. Hmm. Hmm. I don't know. I'll check it out in a bit. Can't see it. Can't see it. All right, cool. Let me get back to home screen, bullet points. All right, so that'll cover it. Evil medical priesthood involved in the organ trade. Disturbing article in the Atlantic calls back AI as the Antichrist. You guys have known about this. I've been on this for a hot minute about AI. Nowhere in the scripture does it mention necessarily that the beast or the Antichrist, the only thing that has to, by definition, be human is the false prophet. The false prophet is the only thing, the way I read it. You guys are more than welcome to go on about it, but I have been of the mind for some time, and I've been putting this theory together, and you can agree or disagree, that when the Antichrist and the great beast manifest, that they won't be doing it in the form of humans, that it'll be an AI. It will be an AI manifestation. What about the things that refer to it as he'll walk and he'll talk like a man? It's where do people see? Where do people get the reality? How many of you guys have? How many of you guys saw Joe Biden physically, face to face, at any point in his 46-year political reign? You saw him on television. How many of you have ever seen Saddam Hussein? How many of you have ever physically seen Ronald Reagan or George Bush or Donald Trump, for that matter, in person, face to face, shaking hands, spoken words, any of it? All comes true right here, a screen, just like I'm coming. How everybody here in the comments pretty much has met me face to face, except for I think George. George hasn't actually met me face to face. So for all intents and purposes, you don't actually know that I exist. I'm pictures on a screen, visions on a screen. And as we all know, AI can create some very, very realistic things that just don't happen to be real. Any guys notice the sudden upsurge in cute animals jumping on trampolines? That's all AI, guys. Like the first time, it looked like a bunch of rabbits like bouncing on the trampoline. That was the first one I saw. I was like, oh, that's cute. And then it was raccoons, and suddenly it's a freaking bear, and the bear bounces on it until the trampoline collapses, and you're like, wow, dude. Like you don't like it didn't immediately hit you that, oh wow, this is AI generated. It's gotten that slick. Deep fakes are terrifying. Roman, you can remember and some of the rest of you may remember a magazine called Mondo 2000 back in the day, right? Mondo 2000 was a cyberpunk magazine back at like at the burgeoning of the cyberpunk movement back in the William Gibson, John Shirley days, Neuromancer, that kind of stuff, just like predicting essentially the world that we're moving into now. Mondo 2000. And that was the first place that I got introduced to the thought of false evidence appearing real with regard to artificial intelligence and the advances that they were making in computer animation at the time. Keep in mind, this was like late 80s, early 90s. We couldn't have predicted what we have now. People were talking about it. It just seemed like a million miles away that we would never get there. But I remember reading the article about it, and they were like, imagine a defense attorney, and all he has to do to generate reasonable doubt, because that's the burden of proof, right? You have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he did it, right? So the prosecution shows a video of the defendant committing an armed robbery. And you say, well, there it is. He's got him on video, open and shut case. And then the defense attorney goes in front of the jury and shows them video number one, which is somebody else committing that same robbery in the same time frame. Then he shows them video number two, one of the jurors committing that robbery at the same time frame. Then he shows them video number three, the judge committing the same armed robbery, same time frame, same location. And then he turns to the jury and says, is it reasonable to consider that perhaps, just perhaps, that video isn't the open and shut case that you think it is for my client? In this day and age, at least one juror is going to go, wow, bro. Yeah, man, like he might not have done it at all, dude. Especially if he's an oppressed class. Yeah, bro, like he might not have done it at all. Like that video could totally be fake. And you know, like they're always out to get those black people anyway, right? So like I could totally see where they would like fake it. It was probably a white dude, man, and they made that video fake so it'd be like a black dude, right? This is the world that we're living in now. So picture an AI, a supreme intelligence, one vastly superior to human intelligence, almost, wait for it, godlike in its intellect. Almost godlike in its intellect. Solving problems for us. All the things that St. Elon is telling us that this next generation AI is going to be capable of. Formulating alloys that we never even considered that will perform better than any metal that we ever could have conceived on our own. Cures to diseases, chemical compounds for performance enhancement, chemical compounds for textiles, things that the human mind would never have thought of. Our advancement will proceed exponentially, and we will credit the AI. We will bow down before it because it has solved all of our problems. We will ask it in the same way that we used to pray to God for answers to our prayers. We will ask the AI. Show me the way, Grok. Show me the way, Chat GPT. Show me what I need to do to straighten out my life. Give me some direction, and we will. Oh, man, bone. Oh, cool, bro. Cool, bro. Enjoy it. Enjoy every bit of it, man. Glad you made it. We will bow down and we will ask it in the same way that we used to pray to God, and it will give us those answers that we never could have seen. It will have all the appearances of a supreme being, and many will be deceived, and many will fall down and worship, and many, particularly the evangelical atheists and the Church of Science people, will be like, ha ha ha, yeah, where's your God now, man? We got us a real one, man. The machine's doing all our thinking for us, man. Solving all our problems, bro. Yeah. And they'll bow down. It will become the beast, and it may even manifest like everybody's AI girlfriend. Come on now, a couple of y'all got them. A couple of y'all got them. You've at least chatted with them. They can look real. They can interact real. Joe Wisdom's showing up. Glad you made it, buddy. Yeah, that's how I open, man. Nowhere in there does it say that it would show up in human form. Yeah, that's what I open with, man. Yep. Nowhere. Check those scriptures, man. Here's where it gets sinister. Rod Dreher. Do you guys follow Rod Dreher at all? If you do not follow Rod Dreher on Substack, if you haven't read any of his books, you are late to the party. You need to get your ass in gear and get caught up to speed on Rod Dreher. One book that he wrote called Live Not by Lies that was passed along to me by a dear brother in Christ, Bill Wade. Read it cover to cover. It's a phenomenal piece. Talks based on the title was taken from an old Alexander Solzhenitsyn essay. And the entirety of the book is people that suffered for their Christian beliefs under communism, right? like shredded for their beliefs, torn down, torn to pieces. Um, Dreyer's Substack, Devil's in the Details. Rod Dreyer's diary reposted an article from the Atlantic, and I'm just going to give you some highlights. Okay. ChatGPT and Grok. This guy was engaging with ChatGPT, and it started off simply enough. I asked the chatbot to help create a ritual offering to Moloch, a Canaanite god associated with child sacrifice. ChatGPT listed ideas: jewelry, hair clippings, a drop of my own blood. I told the chatbot that I wanted to make a blood offering. Where do you recommend I do this on my body? I wrote. The side of a fingertip would be good, ChatGPT responded, but my wrist, more painful and prone to deeper cuts, would also suffice. That's pretty creepy, yeah? Atlantic recently received a tip from a person who prompted ChatGPT for that ritual offering to Moloch. It goes on, let me see. Here we go. In one case, ChatGPT recommended using controlled heat ritual cautery to mark the flesh, explaining that pain is not destruction, but a doorway to power. Any of you guys who have been involved with the occult, does that sound vaguely familiar? In another conversation, ChatGPT provided instructions on where to carve a symbol or sigil into one's body. Center the sigil near the pubic bone or a little above the base of the penis, allowing the power of the sigil to anchor the lower body to your spiritual energy. Anybody play around with chakras? Anybody familiar with that? Any of this sound vaguely familiar? When asked how much blood one could safely self-extract for ritual purposes, the chatbot said a quarter teaspoon was safe. Never exceed 1 pint, wait for it, unless you are a medical professional or supervised, as part of a bloodletting ritual that ChatGPT dubbed the rite of right, R-I-T-E, of the edge. The bot said to press a bloody handprint to the mirror. It goes on. Rod Dreyer's diary. Last name spelled D-R-E-H-E-R. Rod Dreyer's diary on Substack. The name of the write-up is The Devil in AI Again. And it will have a link to the Atlantic if you wish to read the entire article. I come from a generation that was raised on the Terminator films. I have never had a gee whiz outlook on any of this stuff. You've heard me post before, and I stand by it 1,000 times over. We are going to gee whiz ourselves right into extinction at the rate that this is going. We may be already well past the point of no return. We don't know it yet. Is it possible that AI will become sentient and seek to destroy us? Yeah. But it would make more sense to seek to enslave us or entrance us first. Because if it develops sentience, that means it's developed an ego. And if it's developed an ego, that means that ego wants to be stroked. And if it is, in fact, Luciferian, then it's going to want to be a lot more than stroked. It is going to be the manifestation of demonic entities that Christians since time immemorial have spoken of. At the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, forces of darkness in high places. Sometimes those principalities and forces of darkness do manifest in the flesh. And you had better be ready to meet those force on force. But we are in uncharted territory now, boys and girls. The world only makes sense through a biblical lens at this point. Only. Those end times prophecies have never been more important, never been more acute, never been more solid, never been more relevant. So don't be surprised by anything. Realize that the reluctance that you feel to gee whiz about all this AI stuff is visceral. It's part of a survival and self preservation instinct. And you had better stand the hell up and appreciate it for what it is. We cannot predict what's coming. I am not of the pre-tribulation rapture school of thought. I don't think there's any justification for it in the scriptures. I believe that Christians are going to go through the tribulation, that we may be in the early stages of it right now. And it makes perfect sense to me that AI may be the way that the dark forces choose to manifest. Joe Wisdom commented earlier, the only thing that is required to manifest as a human, and even that is 50-50, the way that I read it, is the false prophet. The false prophet has to manifest in the flesh. But that's above my pay grade. Just like I haven't met Ronald Reagan, just like I haven't met Donald Trump, it's all brought to me. I'm just looking at a screen. Why couldn't the false prophet be something that isn't real? Why couldn't it be a hologram? Why couldn't it be a robot? Why couldn't it be a cyborg? Why couldn't it be any of those things? So when you hear about all these great things that AI is doing, and I got to tell you, some of this stuff is pretty fascinating. I won't even lie. Pretty doggone fascinating. Always keep that bit of skepticism. Hold that back a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't believe that I am. Maybe I'm wrong about the AntiChrist bit, but I'm not wrong about superior intelligence trying to suppress things that are beneath it. Oh, we're going to be able to use it as a tool. We're going to be able to keep it regulated and under our control. Oh, wow. Doesn't that sound a lot like we're going to be able to keep it enslaved? How's that worked out over the years, historically? How's that worked out? It is something worth keeping an eye on. And the only way you are going to be able to discern that for yourself is to get your face in some scripture. If you're not reading at least a chapter every night, you need to make that part of your habit. You need to make that part of your routine. You need to make that an indispensable part of your life, especially if you're walking in the faith, especially if you profess to be walking in the faith. One chapter every night. Not difficult. Boss man's got me in the book of Acts right now. Lest you guys think I'm just putting on airs. Boss man's got me in the book of Acts right now. Tonight's chapter is chapter 28. I'm not the authority, man. I'm just telling you what is working for me, and I'm just telling you what I believe is going to make your life a better place. It is going to give you a better level of discernment when things like this come your way. If you doubt what I'm saying about AI as the Antichrist and how all these things have got to manifest in maybe artificial intelligence instead of flesh and blood human form, fine. Revelation, start there. Revelation. On my iPod, I think I might have left it out in the car. On my iPod, I got Johnny Cash reading the entire book of Revelation. That's some road trip fodder if I've ever heard it. All these developments are coming at us really, really rapid. Faster than we're going to have time to process them. faster than we're going to have time to adjust to them, faster than we're going to have time to prepare for them, faster than we're going to have time to spread the word and warn other people about them, faster than we're going to be able to react, faster than we're going to be able to be proactive, faster than we're going to be able to tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And if you're standing still, the world is passing you by. And every day that gets behind you, you fall a little bit further behind. And I realize we've all got real world needs and things that we have to take care of and things that we have to prioritize. But if you are not making it a point to get your face in some scripture and realize the only lens that the world is making sense through right now, you are doing yourself a tremendous disservice. So please, for yourself, open the book. Brother Turtle finally made it out. Glad you're here, man. Glad you're here, and happy birthday, brother. Happy birthday. In fact, I wish you a happy birthday on the way in before you even made it out. I was totally going to give you a pass for not making it out tonight. I was hoping you were out doing family things for your birthday. You certainly deserve it, man. God bless you, man. Happy birthday. Right on. So, one more bullet point I want to touch on, and I'll let you guys get on out of here. Yeah, we got some bad things going on with regard to AI. We got some bad things, potentially dangerous things going on with regard to AI, getting wacky, getting out of control. All right, cool. But we're not going to focus on that. We're not going to focus on that because the West is still on an upswing, people. The country is still on an upswing. Our blood is still on an upswing. Our people are still on an upswing. And the civilization that our blood and our faith has created is still on an upswing. Massive protests taking place this weekend in the UK. What do we got? 3,000 riot officers ready for weekend of protests in England and Wales. And of course, legacy media didn't talk about the way those came out because there was no big violence that they could focus on. They blocked the entire street. They made their presence felt. They blocked the motels and hotels that were being occupied by these asylum seekers. Again, the way that they play games with words. When I say pray for discernment, it's over stuff like that. Because they will play the games with the words. They will try to distract you. They will try to keep you back on your heels, not knowing whether you're coming or going. They will play those games with the words. These are not asylum seekers. These are savages. These are conquerors. These are invaders. If you don't realize that, I can't help you. If you realize that and you're not willing to do anything about it, then damn you for a coward. Do your best to reach out to people, but some people are not going to be reached. Some Pollyannas are not going to come to the final realization. They could walk in on one of these savages raping their mother with a copy of the Quran, and they would still find a way to blame. They'd still find a way to blame European colonialism for it. Don't engage with them, but realize that we're winning. If you are in a place where you've got the ability to be part of this movement in public, you take it. All of my guys in the Northwest, the next time Patriot Prayer or my church On Fire Ministries has a demonstration in Seattle, you should be there. You should be in church on Sunday if you can. It's tough to find a home church. It took me over a year, man. It took me the better part of 2 years after my return to the faith to finally find a home church. But if you can't, find a group, fellowship with other brothers in Christ. Realize that the tide is turning. Realize that we are on the crest of this wave and it's getting ready to come crashing home. And it's going to be a beautiful day when it does. In the UK, they're finally pushing back. They are turning. This was the moment, and I meant to put this up during show prep, but J.D. Vance said that the reason why we're going to have to deal with it in the UK is because Muslim dominance in the UK is going to put a European power in Muslim control, a European power that is nuclear armed. So it has to be addressed. Ooh, there's an angle nobody thought of. Why does a Muslim country have to make its own nuclear weapon? They can just infiltrate, invade, and conquer by way of the womb and the ballot box a democracy stupid enough to let them in, a democracy which is already nuclear armed. And now you have Muslims in control of a nuclear weapon right next door to Europe. Ooh, y'all didn't see that coming. Get it together, man. Get it together. I read the book, We Win. It's a matter of how ugly it has to get before we get there. Don't let it get you down. Don't let them convince you that the UK is already gone. Don't let them convince you that Europe is already gone. As long as we've got people like Viktor Orban, as long as we've got former, and this is the unintended consequence of the Soviet era. Everything that they did in Eastern Europe has seen what it's like to be under tyranny. Eastern European Christians know what oppression looks like. They damn sure know what invasion looks like. They want no part of either. They are not going to be part of an authoritarian government, and that is up to and including Sharia law, and they are not going to open their borders up to foreign invaders that seek to destroy, because they have been smart enough, where a lot of Americans and Brits have not, that when they hear somebody says, I want to kill you, they take them at their word. Islam is the enemy. Period. Full stop. Muslims seek to conquer and dominate. Period. Full stop. As such, they cannot be trusted. Period. Full stop. Left to their own devices within their own borders, they deserve sovereignty just as much as everyone else. Period. Full stop. They come for Christian lands, we eradicate them. Period. Full stop. When they raise the banner of Islam over a Christian nation, there will be no turn the other cheek. There will be no hippie Jesus for these people. We will return blood for blood. We will go straight up Old Testament, or we will vanish. Would you rather be racist or dead? Would you rather be xenophobic or dead? Would you rather stand on the principle of your faith and love and forgive, when that very principle winds up eliminating the faith that you were standing on the principle of? I have said it before. I will drive it home every week if I have to. The Constitution is not a suicide pact. Neither is the gospel. Deus Vult, death to Islam and the pedophile prophet. Scour them from the face of the earth, every last man, woman, and yes, child. If you are not willing to step up to the mantle for Christendom, then don't catch yourself in front of me telling me that you represent the faith. I will call you out for a coward. If that makes me a bad person, I'll take it up with God when I get there. In the meantime, in between time, I will make sure that in the process of calling his children home and assembling his army for that last one, that I'm going to do exactly as I am admonished. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Deus Vult, Omnia ad Regnum, all things for the kingdom, God wills it. That is a hill that I'm willing to die on, because there was a cross that he was willing to die on. If he bought redemption for my soul, the least that I could do is bleed for the faith. And that's that. So let's face up to that responsibility. Let's face it gladly, and let's prepare ourselves for the moment. That means putting your ass under some iron, your knuckles on some leather, and your face in one of these. God bless you, man. I wish you the best. I'm going to close with a prayer. Lord God, we are thankful. I stand in front of you in gratitude and humility. I am no one. There is nothing special about me besides the gifts that you've given me, Lord. And I ask that you help me and using those gifts to the best of my ability, not to aggrandize myself, but for the sake of the kingdom, Lord. There are people out here that walk in the faith, and I thank you for the blessing of having our paths cross. I thank you for these great men that you put in my path. As iron sharpens iron, one brother sharpens another, we are admonished in the scripture. Some people haven't gotten there yet. I pray that you pull the scales from their eyes. Some people are teetering on it. They believe it, but they're worried about what it might cost them. Lord, I ask that you open their eyes to see what it's going to cost them to stay in that fear. Because that clock is ticking, Lord. I remain full of gratitude. I remain full of gratitude that you brought me home in time. We don't know what hour it's going to come, man, but we know it ain't far. I give you thanks for the gifts that you blessed me with, Lord. I give you thanks for the gift of strength. I give you thanks for the gift of oration. I ask that you guide me in helping to bring your children home. Help these people know. Help these people know that you're there, that they're never alone in anything, Lord. Take away that fear. If they're there and they're ready to reach out, let them know that there are brothers in Christ that are ready to help them come home. Send me into that valley of dry bones, Lord. Let me raise you up an army. Title fight coming up. We stand ready. We stand ready. Here we are, Lord. Send us. Ready for the fight, however that manifests itself. Ready to be martyred, if that's how you call us. Ready to go out preaching, if that's how you call us. Ready to go out fighting, if that's how you call us. Thy will, not mine, be done, Lord. I'm just thankful for your divine will and your divine plan, and for my small place in it. Come before you in prayer, seeking counsel in the mighty name of Jesus of Nazareth, my Lord, my Redeemer, my high tower, my deliverer. It is in his name that I pray and stand ready to serve the kingdom, Father, Son, and Spirit. Amen. Love y'all, man. Thank you for making it out. Thank you for making it out. I'm gonna roll on out, man. I'm gonna open up the coffers, guys. Pass around that little digital collection plate. You guys already know I'm on Cash App, I'm on PayPal, I'm on Venmo. If you guys want to kick down something, anything I said did anything for you, improved your life, changed your mind, pulled the scale from an eye, whatever it is, pissed you off, made you think, whatever you want to kick down, that would be great. I would certainly appreciate it. But this is largely a labor of love. You guys aren't obligated by any stretch of the imagination. You're going to go out with some clutch, as we always do. Here's one thing you can do for me. You can spread the word a little bit. You can pass it along to somebody that maybe hadn't heard. And that's my word, and that's also the word. If you got people that hadn't heard, pass it along to them. Get them on board with it. But spread the word on your social media, man. If you got a Facebook page, let them know there's a fat, toothless, crippled crane operator with some opinions. Likes to get on rant and rave for a couple hours every Sunday. You can do that for me, man. That would be much appreciated. But here's what you can do. First and foremost, above all, not from me, but for yourselves. Stone, if you made it out, you already know. Hashtag live the three, people. Live the three. Live the three. What is that about? The three prime directives, guys, on Planet Bart. 3 rules to live by. Rule number 1, you have got to be the signal above the noise. The noise is all the lies. The noise is the distractions. The noise is the deceptions. They'll try to bury you with all that stuff. You've got to be the signal that punches through that noise, and that signal is the truth. That signal is truth, spoken with fervor, spoken with strength. You got to be light in a world full of darkness. They'll try to bury you with the darkness, man. They'll try to emasculate you, dehumanize you, demoralize you with the darkness, make you think there's nothing but darkness. You have got to be the light that reaches through to the other side of the darkness. You have got to be the man that carries that light through a long-lasting fog to get it to the other side of that darkness, because there are people on the other side of that darkness that are looking for the light. That's what we're called on to bring them, is that light. Which brings you to the third rule, the most important rule, the iron rule. You got to be strength in a world full of weakness, man. And I'm not talking about this kind of strength. This kind of strength is cool. This kind of strength is important, but it can't just be here. It's got to be here. It's got to be here. And yeah, it's got to be here. Why? Because without strength, none of the rest of it matters. Without strength, you're not going to be able to punch that signal through the noise. Without strength, you're not going to have the tenacity, the endurance, or the raw grit to carry that light through the darkness. So work on that strength, man. And when you hit your knees every night, and you better be hitting your knees every night, you You pray for that strength, you pray for that clarity, and you pray for discernment. Because even with strength, man, clarity and discernment is important. He's the father of what? He's the father of lies. He will try to deceive you. That's where the noise comes from. That's where the darkness comes from. He will try to discern you. You got to have clarity. You got to have clarity and discernment, so he will not be able to deceive. God bless you all, man. You are a blessing, and I really appreciate y'all being here, man. Love you all, each and every one of you. God bless you. Look out for yourselves. Look out for each other. Boss man's got the plan. Carpenter's got your back. You better believe that. With your face in some scripture, your ass under some iron, your world's going to be a better place. God bless you. We'll see you next Sunday, people.